Who is the creepiest man you've ever met? Around 3 months ago, my family moved to the suburbs after living our whole lives in the inner city. We went from a tiny, overpriced apartment to a beautiful ranch house on the outskirts of Texas. To say that the change in scenery, lifestyle, and community was overwhelming would be an understatement, but we've grown to appreciate it for what it is. My sister just got her first job at a nearby restaurant as a hostess, so on the days that I don't have school, I'm tasked with picking her up from work. Around 2 weeks ago, I did my usual routine of picking her up, however this time I noticed my sister seemed a bit off. I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that she had a feeling that one of the customers was stalking her. It's obviously a very skeptical assumption to make, but my sister isn't really the type to joke about things like that. In the past, one of my ex-boyfriends from high school ended up going crazy after we broke up to the point where he would pull up to our apartment every night for a week, banging on the front door and begging me to come out. My stepdad had to confront him multiple times and even threatened to beat him up on numerous occasions, but he never relented. He always left before the cops would come, so he never got into any trouble legally, but he was suspended from school for about a week, and the harassment ended there. All this to say that my sister knows not to joke about things like that. She practically lived through it when it happened to me, so I immediately began to question her about it. She explained that it started a few days into her new job. The man had blonde hair and brown eyes, in his mid-30s. He walked in, and she sat him down, handed him a menu, and told him his server would be there for him shortly. He made a passive joke about how she should take care of him instead, but she just smiled and walked back to her stand. The following shifts were full of him making similar jokes, which she would always just brush off, until one time he grabbed her arm as she was handing him a menu, not letting go until a nearby waiter confronted him. The whole time he held her hand, he kept begging her to go out with him, how he could treat her well. All she had to do was give him a chance. I want to stress the fact that my sister does not look a day over 15. She doesn't wear makeup, she rarely styles her hair into anything other than a ponytail, and she doesn't even wear jewelry. There's of course nothing wrong with doing any of that. Hell, I looked 20 when I was 16, but I'm saying all of this to emphasize the fact that this grown 30-year-old man was trying his luck with an obvious minor. There's no way he could have mistaken her for anything other than that. The manager ended up kicking the guy out, telling him not to come back, and that was that. Until she started noticing him parked out in front of the restaurant, always backed into the same spot, where he would stare at her for the entirety of her shift. She talked to her manager about it, but the manager said as long as he wasn't coming into the restaurant, he couldn't do anything about it. He would always leave around an hour before closing time, so neither I nor my parents saw him when we went to pick her up. She said that at this point he had to have had her schedule memorized, as he knew what days and times she worked, and always left right before she did. I was enraged. The fact that my sister had to suffer through all of this at the hands of an obvious disgusting pervert sent chills throughout my whole body. I knew what it was like to be harassed to the point that you feared for your life,